So there's another update about the contract situation of the former Impact World Tag Team Champion Ethan Page, member of the tag team known as the North in Impact Wrestling. This comes from Fightful, the guys over there at Fightful using their Patreon service, Fightful Select. Be sure to check that out, very much worth subscribing to. Now, according to a recent report by Fightful Select, Impact Wrestling has taped all of their television content for the next couple of months, so they've got a ton of footage and content in the can ready for broadcast. But Fightful Select have reported that they have learned some specific details from the recent tapings after they were complete over the last couple of weeks. Now, Impact Wrestling filmed their last set of tapings of the year last week. There are several wrestlers at that taping who are not re-signed to new deals, and unless new terms are reached, you won't see them at the next set of Impact Wrestling tapings or the Hard to Kill pay-per-view in January. Now, one of the big names that is still yet to re-sign their Impact Wrestling contract is none other than the aforementioned Ethan Page. Now, Page reaches free agency at the end of 2020. His contract expires on December 31st, 2020, and as of January 1st, 2021, Ethan Page is a free agent and free to go anywhere he pleases, quite frankly. So, and another thing worth noting with the North, because obviously Ethan Page is part of the North, Josh Alexander, his contract expires with Impact Wrestling in 2022. He signed a 3-year deal with the promotion back in 2019. So Ethan Page's contract is expiring. He is yet to re-sign, but Josh Alexander is still under contract when it comes to Impact Wrestling. Now, as far as these taping goes, the tapings wrapped up on Saturday after what was called a grueling 4 days for the Impact Wrestling talent. Most of the talent left the tapings on Saturday after arriving on Monday. Fightful Select were told that the tapings go all the way up until the Hard to Kill weekend, which is January 12th. Impact has flexibility as to whether or not they want to tape their television before or after Hard to Kill, as there's no audience to leak results of the show. Of course, fans are not expected to attend Impact Wrestling events for a substantial amount of time, regardless of vaccines or not. The tapings from last week's television tapings began airing this week on the Impact Wrestling on Access TV show and finished the company up for the rest of the year. So the big bit of news, obviously, there's quite a lot to delve into there, but the big bit of news there, of course, is Ethan Page. When it comes to his contract, it's the situation that here on the channel for Wrestling News 365, we've been following this for what feels like several months now. The news about Ethan Page's contract and that it was expiring at the end of the year, that he was negotiating with Impact Wrestling, but nothing had been signed, that goes all the way back to the summer. Everyone knew going back to the summer that the North's, one of the biggest members of the North, Ethan Page, his contract was expiring at the end of the year. And it would appear that no agreement has yet to be reached, which is big news. It really is big news. Now, I would suggest that just because an agreement hasn't been reached yet doesn't mean that it's completely off the table. I would assume that Ethan Page and Impact Wrestling are still discussing, they're still talking, they're still negotiating whether or not they can come to agreement on a new contract. The only thing that I will say when it comes to that, which is quite concerning if you're a fan of Impact Wrestling and you're a fan of the North and you want to see Ethan Page remain in Impact Wrestling, a concern there has to be, as time goes on, it seems less and less likely that Ethan Page will re-sign his Impact Wrestling contract. As time goes on, Ethan Page seems more and more likely to be out of the door when it comes to Impact Wrestling. Now, he's still doing big things at the moment with Impact Wrestling, as it was mentioned in the Fightful Select report. The first set of television from the recent tapings aired this past week, which saw Swoggle, the phenomenal opponent, with Kyle Anderson come out and face Ethan Page. But what was interesting this past week during Impact Wrestling is that there appeared to be some tension, on screen of course, there appeared to be some tension between Ethan Page and Josh Alexander in the North. There was a backstage segment where Ethan Page came in and he seemed very, very happy, very, very chipper, and he revealed to Josh Alexander that Doc Gallows had been taken out, he was injured, and he was on the shelf for 6 weeks. Ethan Page seemed very happy, very proud of himself that Doc Gallows was taken out, but Josh Alexander didn't seem very happy at all with that. He mentioned if Doc Gallows is out, then that means they don't have an opportunity to reclaim the Impact World Tag Team Championships, which he thinks belongs to the North, considering they're 2-time Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions and, in addition, the longest reigning Tag Team Champions in the history of Impact Wrestling. Now, I think that was very, very interesting that they spoke about not getting the tag team titles back, and Josh Alexander certainly seemed a lot more frustrated than Ethan Page did, and maybe they're starting to be on different pages when it comes to the tag team. So again, now that we know this news that Ethan Page hasn't re-signed his Impact Wrestling contract as of yet, once again it does raise the questions, what's the situation when it comes to Ethan Page? A lot of people, myself included, will read into segments like on Tuesday and say maybe this is the beginning of the end when it comes to Ethan Page in Impact. Maybe they're beginning to write the former tag team champion off of TV. Maybe this is the beginning of the North splitting up and Ethan Page leaving Impact Wrestling, because of course when Ethan Page leaves, Josh Alexander can't. So if Ethan Page leaves, it means the end of the North as a tag team until at least 2022. Now, of course, these things, when it comes to contract negotiations in professional wrestling, can and will go on to the very last minute. Do I have to mention CM Punk with WWE in 2011? Of course, he signed his deal at Money in the Bank when his contract was due to expire that night. Now, I'm not comparing this situation and saying that Ethan Page is on the level of CM Punk and Impact Wrestling is on the level of WWE, because it isn't. But it's well known in pro wrestling that contracts, they can be signed at a moment's notice, and sometimes talents work without a contract for a long time. Look at Rey Mysterio this past year with WWE. Throughout the spring and the summer, Rey Mysterio didn't have a WWE contract. He was working on a per-appearance handshake deal, and eventually he did re-sign a WWE contract. It could be the same here when it comes to Ethan Page. It could be exactly the same, whereby Ethan Page, for a while, is working without an Impact Wrestling contract, working on a handshake deal. Maybe that's the case. Anything can and will happen. Now, of course, Impact Wrestling taped up all the content until Hard to Kill, so that gives Impact Wrestling, if they want, 6 or 7 weeks to sit down with Ethan Page, focus, negotiate a possible deal with the former Impact World Tag Team Champion and other talents for that matter. Of course, it mentioned in the report, Ethan Page was the name that they mentioned, but there are other names when it comes to contracts that are expiring at the end of the year. Taya Valkyrie is another one. Sami Callihan is another one. We haven't had any updates when it comes to their contracts, so they potentially as well could have contracts that expire at the end of the year, and they could also be out the door. Now, I've already done videos on the likes of Taya Valkyrie. I've done a video before talking about Sami Callihan and his contract when it comes to Impact Wrestling. Personally, I think it almost goes in a tier system. I think Sami Callihan's very, very likely to stay with Impact Wrestling. You look at the options, where else can he go? He's not going to go back to WWE, to NXT. The whole Solomon Crow thing, no, that's not going to happen. He's not going to go to MLW. I think he's very ingrained in Impact Wrestling at this point. I don't suspect he's going, and he just did a show closing angle with Eddie Edwards this week, continuing that feud. He's with Ken Shamrock. I don't see Sami Callihan going anywhere. Taya Valkyrie, that's a different story. We know that obviously her husband, John Morrison, works for the WWE. There absolutely would be interest from the WWE bringing someone with that talent level in. So that one's 50-50, but she's heavily featured on Impact Wrestling. She's featured in right now to the Knockouts Tag Team Championship tournament. She's tagging with Rosemary. That's a possibility as well that she becomes Tag Team Champion. So that one is 50-50. Ethan Page, who knows at this point? I was leaning more towards that he might stay. Now, given this news, he hasn't re-signed a deal. He could leave. We just don't know. If Ethan Page does leave Impact Wrestling, there is no doubt in my mind it's a massive story and an even bigger loss to Impact Wrestling if they lose someone like Ethan Page. At the moment, given the news, I'm not sure it looks super promising, but it will be interesting to see how they've dealt with this by the storyline and writing style of Impact Wrestling going forward. Because, as I mentioned, they've taped 6-7 weeks of TV at this point. They've taped all the content going into Hard to Kill in January. And if Ethan Page hasn't re-signed the contract, they'll have to write him off TV. If in a couple of weeks' time Ethan Page gets an injury angle or Josh Alexander turns on him or something of that nature, then we know for a fact Ethan Page hasn't re-signed the contract and he's out the door. I think, given that the way that Impact has handled things like this in the past, I think it's possible they leave this situation very open-ended and very ambiguous. Maybe we could see over the next few weeks Ethan Page disappear off TV or something of that matter, but it's very open-ended so that he could come back if he re-signs a new deal. Maybe, as I mentioned, it's a case of he doesn't get written off TV in these current tapings. He agrees to work Hard to Kill, but maybe that's the last event for him. I don't know. There's even some discussion of maybe they filmed a couple of different outcomes when it comes to Ethan Page. I doubt that's the case. I doubt Impact would film alternate outcomes or alternate takes for a wrestler like Ethan Page, because time is money, and Impact, they're a relatively small operation still, even though they're very well backed. They're a relatively small operation, and look, they were taping from, what do they say, Monday to Saturday. They don't have time, if you're taping 6-7 weeks of TV, to film all of these alternate takes. So I don't think they'll do that. I certainly see Ethan Page's situation in Impact being very open-ended at the moment. I see Impact writing this in an open-ended style. Maybe, like I said, he comes in and does a final shot at Hard to Kill. I don't think their feud with the Good Brothers is over yet. We do have Final Resolution on December 12th, I believe. Maybe that could be a point in which Ethan Page does get written off of television. As I mentioned, there is a few weeks left of the year still to go, and I still think there's going to be a lot of happening in that period. Either way, we're going to find out, I think, relatively soon what the situation is when it comes to Ethan Page. The way it plays out over TV over the next few weeks will explain the future of Ethan Page. But it's been an ongoing saga since the summer. As I mentioned at the top of the video here, everyone really has known the situation of Ethan Page. It's not really been in terms of a contract negotiation that's taken place in the public setting, but everyone has really known the situation. There have been various wrestling websites that have covered it. We've covered it here on the channel. It's been up and down. Ethan Page has even done a couple of interviews about the situation, and we'll touch on that in a second. It's been very open. It's not much of a secret. Everyone's known the situation that Ethan Page's contract expires at the end of the year. Everyone knows that there are various parties interested in securing the services of Ethan Page for their wrestling company. I'm sure I would be stunned. I would be absolutely stunned if Impact doesn't make a serious play to keep Ethan Page. He's just too big of a talent not to do that. I'm sure Impact Wrestling are doing and have been doing everything they can to re-sign Ethan Page. But again, this is pro wrestling and anything can happen. And I mentioned that I've been going up and down about the situation of it because it has kind of felt like that. Again, since the summer, everyone has known the situation when it comes to the North's contract situation, when it comes to Josh Alexander staying and Ethan Page possibly leaving. Then the North win the Tag Team Championships at Bound for Glory. I thought at the time, right, that's done and dusted. Ethan Page is going to sign a new deal. Why would you put the tag team titles on a guy that's leaving? Then, wouldn't you know it, at the time I said he was saying, then at Turning Point, they lose the tag team championships, and all of the questions prior to that open back up again. And Ethan Page, he's been very open when it comes to this contract situation with Impact Wrestling. And you have to look at what's on the horizon for him in terms of Impact Wrestling. As a tag team wrestler, nothing is. He has done everything there is to do. And Ethan Page has been very open and honest, saying he wants a bigger and better contract. And look, he's a big star in the making. Ethan Page is, I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, but it's worth mentioning again. Ethan Page is a huge, huge star in the making. He has all the abilities to succeed in any company. He really does. Most importantly, he has a ton of charisma, and that's really something you can't teach. The charisma and the ability to cut great promos, talk on the mic, have entertaining segments, you can't teach that. It's very rare for a professional wrestler to have that ability to be charismatic, be able to talk, and also translate it onto a pro wrestling program. Look, it's easy to be entertaining on social media. It's easy to be entertaining when you're just around your friends. It's something different to do it week to week to week on a pro wrestling program, and Ethan Page does that. What used to hold him back in the past was physically, he didn't look the best. It's Thanksgiving yesterday. He probably looked like he was eating a Thanksgiving dinner every single day. That's not the case now. He looks absolutely phenomenal. He's had a huge physical transformation. I think he lost 30, 40, 50 pounds, something like that. And his reputation, I would say, over the last 12 months or so has absolutely skyrocketed. It's absolutely skyrocketed. More people now know Ethan Page than they ever did 12 months ago. They just do. He really has become bigger than maybe the reputation of Impact Wrestling. People know him and want to see him in AEW and want to see him in WWE and NXT. His reputation is improving all the time. He appeared on Talkin' Shop Mania 2 in his karate character. He's done some select independent dates. He's getting a lot of interest. And Ethan Page has been very, very open. that he has spoken to other companies. He said it in an interview with Sports Illustrated. He said that Impact Wrestling, during this whole negotiation process and during everything, have been absolutely fantastic. And most importantly, they've allowed him to talk to other companies, which is his right. I think, was it 3 months left on your deal or something like that? A lot of people have clauses in their deals that say after a certain point you can begin negotiating with other companies. And that's exactly what he's been doing. He's been speaking. Now, we don't know specifically what companies they are, but when they say companies in the United States, it means he's talking to AEW and it means he's talking to WWE. We know in AEW, Cody Rhodes is a huge fan. He's a huge fan. He hasn't been shy about it. WWE, I'm sure when they see someone with the charisma and the ability to talk, they want to bring someone like Ethan Page in, especially to a place like NXT. We know the Rascals are going to NXT, which shows that WWE keep their eye on talent that comes from Impact. They've been doing that for several years at this point. So they're aware of Ethan Page, and I'm sure they want Ethan Page. But credit to Ethan Page, he has always said, and he's never changed this, he has said his first priority is Impact Wrestling. He said that if Impact Wrestling can make him a good offer, if Impact Wrestling make him an offer that's worth his while, he will stay. And he spoke about how he's improved himself over the last 12 to 18 months. He said all of it has almost been to get a better contract when it comes to Impact Wrestling. He spoke about having a family, having a child, and wanting to be able to provide more for that child and provide a lifestyle that he wants for that child and his family. And he spoke about improving on the mic, improving on the ring, improving physically, doing his vlogs, his Twitch streaming channel. He spoke about all of that was because he wants to show what a valuable commodity he is to Impact Wrestling and get a contract and be compensated that is worth his while. So that's the situation. His first priority is and always will be Impact. Impact as well. He has huge ties. He's very woven into the fabric when it comes to Impact Wrestling. Impact Plus, the streaming service, carries his own wrestling promotion. I'm sure that factors into it as well. So the whole situation when it comes to Ethan Page is very much up in the air. I'm sure he is talking to Impact, and I'm sure negotiations are ongoing when it comes to Impact and Ethan Page. But I'm also sure, and I don't even have to be sure because he said it himself, he is speaking to other companies. Cody Rhodes is a huge fan of his, and I'm sure he's got huge supporters in WWE too. Personally, and this is what I've said several times at this point, I hope Ethan Page does stay in Impact Wrestling. I think the North have more of a story to tell in Impact, specifically the breakup, because the North have done everything as a tag team in Impact. They are the longest reigning tag team champions in the promotion's history. They are 2-time champions, but there is more of a story to tell. Whether that is just the breakup, that should be a long program in itself. That should be a program that lasts 6 months, maybe longer. And then once that's done, Ethan Page can and will be a world champion in Impact Wrestling if he stays. I've said that so many times that it's almost becoming boring to myself, but it's true. He can be a world champion in Impact Wrestling. He has it all. His character, his promos, his look, all of it means he can be a world champion in Impact Wrestling. And if he goes to AEW, can he be a world champion there? Absolutely he can. Can he do it immediately? I don't think so. Can he be a world champion immediately in Impact? Yes, he can. If he goes to WWE, which I think out of all the options available to him right now is probably the least attractive option, I would say. He would go straight to NXT. He wouldn't go to the main roster. He doesn't have that reputation yet. He would eventually. And I think he would have huge success in NXT. Would he have huge success on Raw and SmackDown? That's really up for debate because you can't predict that anymore. Vince McMahon, he is a crazy old man. And there have been superstars and wrestlers that have gone to WWE, had huge success in WWE in terms of NXT, and they've gone to Raw or SmackDown, and it's nothing. I would have been certain and sure a couple of years ago that Aleister Black and Keith Lee would have had huge success on Raw or SmackDown, and look at them now, especially Aleister Black. So I don't know. At this point in his career, is a move to WWE and NXT right for him? I don't think so. I mentioned about the outside interests of Ethan Page. He does vlogs on YouTube, he does Twitch streaming, and he has his own promotion. If he goes to WWE, that's not happening. That isn't happening. That's done. We know this third-party edict when it comes to things like Twitch and Cameo and other streaming services. It's just not allowed. Now, obviously, it's different for NXT talent. Recently, it's been revealed that the third-party edict when it comes to Twitch doesn't really associate with NXT superstars. That's for now, and things can and will change with that, I'm sure. Why would Ethan Page want to go to WWE and be handcuffed? I don't think he would. I think there would absolutely be a huge temptation on his part to go to AEW, and I'm sure eventually he has aspirations to work there. If he goes to AEW, he's going to get a great contract, he can carry on with all of his outside interests, and he would be treated like a big star. He would. I said, he can talk and he can work, and he's a valuable commodity. And I think over a couple of years' time, he could be an AEW World Champion. He could certainly challenge for the TNT Championship. I could absolutely see him becoming TNT Champion. And I'm sure, like anyone, you have to remember when it comes to Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, they were put together. They've not always been a tag team. They were two single stars put together that became a fantastic tag team. So I'm sure he does have aspirations to become a singles wrestler. And I'm sure if he goes to AEW, look, he'll have matches against huge opponents. The lure of facing the likes of Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, Jon Moxley on a national cable network like TNT and on pay-per-view and in big arenas, that is incredibly exciting and alluring and tempting. I'm sure it is. But if I was to give him advice, and why would he follow my advice? But if I was, I would say stick around with Impact, give it another year or 2 years. Get that main event level run in Impact, get that under your belt. Build your reputation up as a main event level single star in Impact Wrestling first, become a world champion first in Impact, and eventually he will go to AEW, he will go to WWE. That's when you make your money, but if you're going into that AEW or WWE run as previously being an Impact World Champion, your stock is just a little bit higher. And you can make even more money, and you can make an even bigger impact when you go to AEW or WWE because you've already been a world champion. But I suppose the counter side to that argument is timing is everything in pro wrestling, and sometimes you're only hot once, and you're only the next big thing once, and you don't want your shine to rub off, and timing is everything. But I think if he does time it right, if he does stay with Impact another year or two, he can make even more money in the future. He can become an even bigger star. So I would say I think he should stay with Impact for one more year. As I mentioned, the news that we're getting right now is he still hasn't re-signed a new deal. Do I expect him to re-sign? I wouldn't even know at this point. I really wouldn't. A couple of weeks ago, I'd have said I think he will re-sign. Part of me now is saying that I don't think he will. But we've still got 6 or 7 weeks left. Again, the television that we see over the next few weeks is certainly going to be very, very interesting because it's really going to give us an indication as to which way this situation is going. And it's not just for him, it's for several talents. It's for absolutely several talents. And this goes back to my original point that I've made quite a few times in recent videos. Impact Wrestling really needs to get names in the door right now because there are a lot of names that are going. The Rascals have gone. That's 3 top wrestlers that have gone. Kylie Ray's gone. They've also got injuries too. Heath and Alex Shelley, hopefully they're going to be back soon. Taya Valkyrie could be going. Heck, we don't know about Sami Callihan. He could be going. EC3's gone. RVD, Katie Forbes, they're gone. There are a lot of names that are potentially either out the door or going out the door. And it's up to Impact Wrestling now to try and re-sign as many as they can, including Ethan Page. They need to start throwing some money at the situation, and they also need to start bringing some names in. So it's a very interesting situation. It's a very interesting time. If we get any more information, of course, we'll cover it here on the channel. We talk about all things Impact Wrestling, in addition to WWE, AEW, and anything interesting in the world of pro wrestling. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. So what are your thoughts on the latest development when it comes to the Ethan Page Impact Wrestling contract situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, chatting about Impact Wrestling, chatting about all things pro wrestling here on the channel. No need to have any right or wrong opinion. All opinions and all outlooks are welcome, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get to people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.